What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor, and ladies and gentlemen, I am back from my trip to Florida. I was there to help with some relief efforts from Hurricane Ian, and when I got there, it was quite surprising to me seeing what was going on down there. And I'll go ahead and talk to you about that real quickly because I think it's important that we talk about it because, quite frankly, what I've learned down there is that I've seen hurricane damage up close before. I've seen severe weather damage before. I've seen winter weather damage before. But until this trip, I've never seen hurricane damage. And the damage I was looking at was mostly from storm surge. There was some wind damage where I was at, where I was helping demolish homes and everything like that. But yeah, I've never seen stuff like that because from the outside looking into it, you could say it's not even that bad. But once you step into it and once you look at what really happened, it's absolutely disgusting and absolutely shocking. The house, just from the surge, like water gets into everything. And I looked at the floors especially, and that bottom layer where it's basically just a bunch of recycled wood and everything like that that's glued together to make another piece of like this plywood and everything like that. They sell this stuff at Home Depot. Um, Basically, what I've looked at is that it's really wet, and the surge made it so wet that if you step on that directly, not counting the plywood and the flooring that's on top of it, but if you step on that, you're going to fall through it. And I looked at that and I realized no wonder people can't just move back in here. Like the floor is so wet that it can collapse at any second. It's just too dangerous. And seeing that just was kind of surreal. And what we did while we were down there, my group and I, what we did was we basically were demolishing and gutting the floors and drywall. And the first place we were at took us 3 days. And what we did was we just were ripped out the floor, and then we just started taking out all the that last bit of flooring, and that took forever because just that kind of stuff, cleaning that up is just, it's not pretty because one if you don't have it in select chunks and all of it's going to fall through the floor, you're going to have to get clean it up eventually. Yeah, it's not great. But I enjoyed the trip because I can now say I've seen hurricane damage and it's not pretty when from especially from a high-end cat 4 like Ian was. And another thing that I learned down there was that I feel like a lot of people's perception of Ian was wrong. And I'll explain what that I mean by that because I talked to a gentleman down there who was affected by it. He lost everything. And I asked him what it was like right before Ian made landfall. And I told him that the perception that I had was that people did not have enough time to evacuate. What he told me instead was that it wasn't that people didn't have enough time to evacuate. It was that people, especially in the Fort Myers area, everyone that he talked to that was impacted by Ian told him that they had no idea Ian was going to be that bad and that they had no idea it was even going to be making landfall there in the first place. Because the last forecast, according to them, was about 6 to 8 hours before it actually made landfall, and it was still supposed to make landfall in the Sarasota area at what they were looking at. Just the models had shifted so far south in the last day that it kind of broke that. And they had no idea they were getting the eye wall, the landfall, and the second eye wall, which was even worse because that was where the worst winds were. They had no idea that it was coming at that point. Like they knew it was coming and everything, but they did not expect to get the eye wall and everything like that. And to me, that absolutely shocked me because looking back at it now, I understand why people didn't evacuate. It was yes, it was partly because they didn't have enough time to, but they didn't expect it to be that bad in Fort Myers. They didn't expect it to make landfall over there because right after that forecast of it hitting Sarasota came out, according to what they've told this guy their power went out and they had no idea what was going to happen. So, yeah, that's quite bone chilling if you think about that. And it's, to me, it opens my perspective and it stresses to me even further that even if you're not in the cone of the landfall, even if you're not in the cone, you still need to get ready for these things. And all I can really say to that is that it's been an absolute tragedy. The worst tragedy is not knowing that's coming. And to a lot of people, it seemed like that. There were some people that I've talked to that knew it was coming and everything like that. But other people just had no idea that this was coming in the first place. So, yeah, actually learned quite a lot that I didn't know before about basically the aftermath of hurricanes at that point, especially major hurricanes. And I hope to use that knowledge for future lines of reporting when I report about hurricanes with Pat's Path Predictor. So, yeah, I'm going to end it right here. I'm back from Florida. I had a good time while I was down there. I learned a lot while I was down there. And yeah, I'll continue to update you here on the weather. There'll be a video out later today because there is some winter storm watches and warnings up in New York and New England. We'll cover that later. But until that time, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.